All right, Cowboys Nation, buckle up because there's a lot to unpack after what went down this week. You could feel the tension in the air from the jump. Man, this wasn't just another Sunday game. This was supposed to be the turning point. The moment the Cowboys found that spark, stacked some wins together, and reminded everyone why they're still America's team. But instead, what we got was another frustrating outing that leaves more questions than answers. When you look at that film, it's clear there's talent everywhere, but something just isn't clicking on defense. And what's crazy is, the offense is doing their job, putting up points, driving the ball, making plays. You can't drop over 30 a game and still end up in the loss column 4 out of 6 weeks without wondering what's really going on behind the scenes. Now let's talk about that 4th and 4 play. I know fans were heated, thinking it was a blown call or bad scheme, but when you break it down, it actually wasn't the call. The defensive coordinator dialed up the perfect play for that situation. The problem was in the execution. Kenneth Murray hesitated, beat his feet too much instead of breaking straight to the gap. Just that split-second delay. That's all it took to turn a stop into a conversion. Football's a game of inches, man, and those inches have been killing the Cowboys lately. You can tell these guys are frustrated. You hear it in their voices in the locker room. You see it in their body language after the whistle blows. But one thing that stood out to me, and this says a lot about the leadership in that locker room, is that nobody's throwing anybody under the bus. Shoddy could have easily pointed fingers, could have called out players, but he didn't. He stood tall, took accountability, and that kind of attitude trickles down. You need that when you're trying to weather the storm. Because make no mistake, this team is in a storm right now. Sitting at 2-3, and 1 with a tough stretch ahead, there's no room for pity. And hearing the players speak after the game, you could sense the mix of anger and determination. Y and Shy were some of the only guys who didn't let the team down out there, but even they weren't satisfied. They said it best, finishing is everything. You can talk all day about resilience, grit, next man up mentality, but if you're not finishing drives, you're not winning football games. They knew what kind of coverages were coming their way, they knew the looks they'd face, but it comes down to execution. That word keeps popping up for a reason. What's really wild, though, is that despite all the offensive production, Dak finding rhythm, receivers making plays, the line holding up, the defense just can't seem to hold the line when it matters. It's not just missed tackles or blown coverages. It's about communication, about setting the edge, about playing physical football. When you let a team run the ball down your throat, eat up the clock, and walk away with 6 after 6-minute drives, it's demoralizing. And that's what's been happening too often. The players know it. Kenny said it straight up, it's frustrating. You want to get them in passing situations, make them uncomfortable, but when they're living on 1st and 2nd down, there's not much you can do but watch the time slip away. And look, nobody's blind here. Kenneth Murray hasn't looked good on film lately, and the fans see it too. The linebacking core needs to tighten up, no excuses. When you've got a defense giving up over 30 points in 4 out of 6 games, that's not sustainable. You can't expect your offense to keep bailing you out every week. Even the players on defense admitted it. They've got to play more physical, get to the ball faster, clean up those little mistakes that turn into big gains. But man, when you hear Wayne say, "We got the best offense in the league and I feel bad," that hits deep. Because he's right. When you're scoring like that and still losing, something's seriously broken. These guys aren't mad at each other. They're mad at the situation. They know what kind of team this could be if everyone clicked. And that's what makes it so painful. They're not getting blown out. They're losing close games, winnable games, because of avoidable errors. The offense, meanwhile, keeps their heads down, does the work, and still gets criticized. You can see it in Dak's interviews. He's calm, focused, saying all the right things, but you can tell he's tired of moral victories. The man just wants to win, and you can't blame him. This team was built to compete now, not rebuild. The weapons are there. The playmakers are there. The coaching staff is experienced. So what's the missing link? Maybe it's chemistry. Maybe it's attitude. Or maybe it's just that they haven't found that killer instinct yet. The locker room talk was telling. They're not giving up. They're pissed, but they're not defeated. That's the kind of energy you want to see after a loss. Nobody sugarcoated it. When asked about the frustration level, one of the guys said it plain and simple, pissed off. 2 words that summed up the whole mood in the building. Because this isn't about excuses anymore. This is about pride. About representing the star the right way. about proving that all that off-season hype wasn't for nothing. And you know Jerry's watching all of this closely. You can feel it in the air. Something's got to give. Maybe a trade, maybe a roster shakeup, maybe just a heart-to-heart meeting behind closed doors. But something has to change. Because when you look at the schedule ahead and you imagine these same issues popping up in December, it's not a good picture. The Cowboys have too much talent to be treading water at this point. Still, there's a sense of belief. You can hear it when players talk about getting back to work, focusing on the details, and holding each other accountable. They're not letting this break them. They know that every team faces adversity, and this stretch right here, this could be the test that defines their season. Whether they come out of it stronger or keep stumbling depends on what they do next. And man, I respect that. Because it's easy to fold when things go south. It's easy to start blaming coaches or teammates or luck. But what these guys are saying is that it's on them. All 11 on each side of the ball. That's ownership. That's leadership. You can tell the locker room still believes, even if the results don't show it yet. And when you've got leaders saying, "We'll be better," you want to believe them. You want to believe that this is the week things turn around. But the truth is, belief alone won't fix it. Execution will. Finishing drives will. Playing with that edge, that fire, that chip on the shoulder, that's what will fix it. Because right now, the Cowboys don't need motivation. They need results. They need stops. They need to close games out. They need to show that the same energy they have in the first quarter carries through the fourth. And if they can do that, if they can start stacking wins, this whole conversation changes real quick. You could feel the frustration building up all game long. The players knew they had the talent to win. The coaching staff had a solid plan, but somehow it all slipped away again. Every week it feels like the same story. A few missed tackles here, a blown assignment there, and suddenly a game that should have been locked up turns into another what if. You can sense it in the tone of the locker room now. These guys aren't just mad about losing. They're tired of making the same mistakes. They talk about finishing, about communication, about being more physical, but until those words turn into results, they're just echoes in the hallway after another tough loss. Kenny said it himself. The frustration isn't just about the scoreboard. It's about knowing what's coming and still not being able to stop it. When a team runs the same looks you've seen on film all week and still controls the clock, that cuts deep. That's not about talent. That's about execution and attitude. The Cowboys' defense knew what Carolina wanted to do. They knew Rico was going to get the ball over and over again, and yet, he gashed them for nearly 200 yards. That's not just a stat line, that's a statement. When a running back tells you to buckle up before the game and then does exactly what he said he would, that's the kind of thing that sticks with a defense. You could see it in the post-game interviews too. Some of the defensive guys looked like they wanted to say more, but held back, and that silence says everything. You can tell there's something under the surface. Maybe frustration with the scheme, maybe a lack of accountability from certain players, or maybe just exhaustion from carrying the same issues week after week. One player even said, "That's in-house," when asked about the problems, which tells you there's tension there. It's not a meltdown, but it's definitely a moment where leadership will be tested. Meanwhile, the offense keeps producing. Dak looks sharp, the receivers are making plays, and the offensive line continues to hold strong despite the ups and downs. They're averaging close to 30 points a game, which should be enough to win most weeks. Yet, here they are, sitting below .500 and wondering what more they can do. That's a tough spot for any team to be in. You can hear the frustration in their voices, too, but it's different. It's not about blame, it's about helplessness. They're doing their part, but football is the ultimate team sport, and if one side doesn't hold up, everyone suffers. Even the way they talk about the losses shows growth, though. Nobody's throwing tantrums or making excuses. They're focusing on what they can control, being consistent, executing, and finding ways to finish. You can tell they believe in what they're doing. They just need the results to match the effort. That's why the next few weeks will be so important. They've got division games coming up, and if they can right the ship before the bye week, everything changes. But if not, the pressure's going to start mounting fast. It's wild, because on paper this is one of the most balanced rosters in the league. There's no shortage of playmakers. Yet every game comes down to the same problems: slow starts, missed tackles, and not enough closing power. When you're giving up long drives late in games, you're not just losing yards, you're losing morale. The offense sits on the sideline watching the clock drain away, knowing they might not even get another shot. That wears on a team. And that's exactly what happened in this one. The other side took the ball with just over 6 minutes left, ran it down their throats, and never gave it back. That's the kind of loss that haunts you. And yet, through all of that, there's still a strange sense of belief in this locker room. Maybe it's because they've seen flashes of how good they can be when everything clicks. Maybe it's because they know this league changes fast. One good win can turn a season around. You look at the chemistry between Dak and his receivers, the growth of the young guys stepping up, and you see potential everywhere. It's just not translating into wins yet. When the players talk about what needs to change, they're honest. It's the small stuff. Getting off blocks faster, wrapping up on tackles, staying disciplined in coverage. Those sound like simple things, but in the NFL, small mistakes become big plays. That's what separates contenders from pretenders. And the Cowboys are at a crossroads right now. Either they tighten up and start playing complete football, or they keep spinning in circles wondering why all their hard work isn't paying off. What gives you hope, though, is that the leaders in that locker room haven't lost faith. They're holding each other accountable, pushing for more, refusing to settle. You can feel the pride still burning. They know what that star on their helmet represents. They know the expectations that come with being a Dallas Cowboy. It's not just about the next game. It's about restoring that standard. And honestly, this feels like the moment where you find out what kind of team this really is. Every successful season has that turning point, that game or that stretch where everything starts to click. The Cowboys have been close in every loss, which means they're not broken, just inconsistent. If they can clean up the details, get that defense to match the offense's energy, they can still make a run. It's all right there in front of them. But it has to start now. Before we roll on, subscribe to Cowboys Wire News, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Your support keeps the Dallas Cowboys updates coming. Tell us what you think in the comments. Whispers are already rippling through the NFL corridors, and if the rumors are true, the Dallas Cowboys are about to take their defense to an entirely new level. Sources suggest that the Cowboys have secured a deal with edge rusher Brian Burns, and insiders are calling it a move that could redefine their defensive identity. For years, Dallas has been known for its flashy offense and star-studded skill positions, but questions about their pass rush and defensive consistency have lingered. The possible arrival of Burns, however, could change all that, and fans are buzzing with anticipation. Burns, known for his explosive speed and relentless pursuit of quarterbacks, has built a reputation as one of the most feared edge rushers in the league. His ability to collapse pockets, force turnovers, and disrupt offenses in critical moments makes him a perfect candidate to lead a defense that has struggled at times to impose its will. Rumors indicate that the Cowboys see him not just as a player, but as a cornerstone for a defensive transformation. They're not just adding a name, they're adding an attitude, one league source reportedly told insiders. Dallas has been quietly building around a mix of youth and experience on defense, but the addition of Burns would signal a bold statement. This team is serious about winning on both sides of the ball. Fans can already imagine him pairing with the existing defensive line, creating relentless pressure and giving quarterbacks nowhere to hide. Social media chatter has lit up with speculation about how Burns' presence might free up linebackers, tighten coverage, and change the dynamics of the NFC East entirely. Of course, nothing is official yet, and the Cowboys front office is keeping details under wraps, adding fuel to the rumor mill. But insiders hint that negotiations have moved swiftly, and Burns' camp seems intrigued by the prospect of joining a team with championship aspirations and a hungry fan base. If the deal comes to fruition, it could redefine Dallas' defensive strategy and bring a new swagger to a squad that has long been criticized for underperforming in big moments. One thing is clear, the buzz around Brian Burns and the Cowboys is growing louder by the hour. Analysts are already speculating about the ripple effects across the league, and rival teams are surely taking notice. For a franchise that thrives on headlines, this potential acquisition might just be the story that dominates the off-season chatter, and the Cowboys faithful are already dreaming of the defensive dominance that could soon be theirs. That's a wrap from Cowboys Wire News. For breaking Cowboys updates, subscribe, drop a like, and turn on the bell. Tell us your take in the comments.